providing for all of our teachers and all of LD Central to support us as we transition into distance learning. Change the slide, please. So what we're going to go over today is social emotional support for our students. We will be utilizing our class tool, which is a classroom assessment scoring system. This tool has been utilized by us to look at the effectiveness of our classroom, our interaction with our students. All of our schools have scored a 4 or a 5 in this area based on the QSLA, QRIS evaluation of our centers. So what we're doing today is actually transferring those skills that has made us very successful from the physical classroom into an online setting. So without much ado, I will have Ms. Hall go over learning objectives for today.
Good morning. My name is Desiree Hall, and I'm the principal at Dayton Heights Early Education Center. Today, our learning objectives are: teachers will transfer skills used in a classroom environment to a virtual classroom, a Zoom classroom environment. And teacher staff will enhance social and emotional awareness in a digital environment.
So I did not introduce myself. I'm Obioma Uche, and I'm the Early Education Director for LD Central. And along with me today on this Zoom webinar is Mr. Curtis Johnson. He's a principal at 37th Street Early Education Center, Mr. Humberto Benitez, and Ms. Goa Gigayan, and Ms. Viviana Ledesma. So I just want to thank all of you for your support, and we're going to make sure that you go away from this PD with something that you can utilize as soon as you get off from this PD. As we move along, please make sure that you include in the chat box your name and your school, so that way we can have a good account and know who we have with us today. And we're gonna go over our norms of collaboration. So please do look at this 7 norms and determine which of them will guide your work today. For me, I'm going to select presuming positive intentions, because we're here today because we want to do what is best for our children. And as always, remember, is a triple track agenda. Whatever we learn here today has to transfer to the classroom. It's to make us effective in our classrooms, which are now virtual. So we need to be able to take our learning from today and step off this webinar and implement in our classrooms to support our students' learning. So I'm gonna have Ms. Hall continue.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Ms. Hall, and I just want to do a mindfulness activity with you real quick. I want you to take a few seconds and take a look at the photo that we're providing for you. Just take a few minutes and think about your emotions. What do you see? How do you feel when you look at this photo? And if you want, you could put a couple of comments in the chat. So let's take a few seconds to look at the photo and just reflect on the photo. Okay. I see someone said they're relaxed. Can someone read some things off the chat? Mr. Curtis or Humberto?
They feel peace, calm and relaxed, hopeful, grateful, tranquility, serenity, an unknown way to go.
All right, thank you. So let's take a look. There's darkness, there's light, there's rain, and there's also a rainbow. And this is how we're probably feeling right now. We have a lot going on in our life. Things have changed drastically in our lives, but the rainbow is a ray of hope. There's hope at the end of this. You know, there's hope that we're going to return back into the classrooms in a safe manner. So I want you to continue to just grab on and hold on to that hope in these dark times that we're feeling. So right now, in order for us to regulate our emotions, because I know that we're feeling different things at this time, we're going to do a breathing technique. So if you could stand, if you could sit in your chair, sit upright, feet on the floor. And for some of us, we may need to go to the edge of our seats. As long as your feet is flat on the floor. And we're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out, and we're going to do it 3 times. Ready? 1. Breathe in. Breathe out. 2. Breathe in. And breathe out. Last time, breathe in. And breathe out. Okay, so let's just center ourselves so that we can focus and get this information on the dimension of the emotional supportive class.
Thank you, Ms. Hall, for that activity that has centered us and has brought us to an awareness of where we are now. So I have a question for everyone. How many of you are aware of the classroom assessment scoring system known as CLAS? So it's a poll, so please respond to the poll.
We have 130 participants out of 189 answering the polling question.
And based on the responses that we have 93% of our participants, 64% of our participants that are aware of the class, and 35% that say no, they are not aware of what it is. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, for those that are not aware of what class is all about, you would leave this training with an awareness of what it is. And for those of you that already know about class, you will come up with different strategies to utilize class for emotional support in your online classroom.
So what is CLAS? CLAS is an observational tool that has been used in over 3,000 preschool classrooms, and it's also a research-based tool. So it has been used and rated, and information has been given to different schools on where they are in the CLAS tool, where their glows are and where their grows can be. So it's actually a research-based tool to help improvement of interactions in the preschool classrooms.
So CLAS helps childcare providers be able to nurture the development of children and provide interactions that support the development of children in a supportive learning environment. Because as we know, what we do with our students in the preschool years, go with them through the early elementary years.
Teaching class, I'm sorry.
Go on.
Okay. You could go, Ms. Uche.
So what does class provide? As we already talked about, teaching is one of those challenging professions because you know that you have the life of our young ones in your hand. So what the class does is it provides you as a teacher an outline for working with our children in the classroom and the knowledge base that you need as you interact with the children in a positive environment.
So what does class measure?
Class was designed for classroom quality. As you could see, we have 3 domains and we also have 10 dimensions. The class observation tool looks at emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. Under each of these domains, it is further broken down into dimensions and also indicators and behavioral markers that we can utilize to see if this is actually happening in the classroom. For us today, we will be focusing on the emotional support for students that we're going to work with in our online classroom. We're going to look at the different dimensions, the indicators, behavioral markers that we need to make sure that we're adhering to in order to support our children in this online environment.
So in class, there's a score range of 1 to 7. The low range is 1 to 2, and that's in monitoring. And the teacher is in the low range, rarely displays dimensional behaviors. The key word, rarely. In the mid range, which is a 3, 4, and 5, teachers in the mid range are inconsistent and sometimes display dimensional behaviors. Keywords, inconsistent, and sometimes. In the high range, this is a 6 and a 7. The teacher is intentional. The teacher in a high range consistently and frequently display dimensional behaviors. Keywords, frequently and consistently. Now we're going to watch a video on effective teacher-child interactions. No sound. Okay, we're going to check the audio.
Let me check the audio.
No, right there.
Hold on. We're going to restart the video with the audio.
Thank you. Technology glitches always happens, so we need to be ready at all times.
I can play it on my end if we want to.
Yes, Curtis, can you please play it? It's not allowing me to play the audio.
And thank you for your patience. As you probably are aware, we experienced some technical difficulties, something you might encounter as you start teaching doing your online learning as well.
Early childhood development is the smartest strategy that we can make. There's really no more fertile period of time for investing in human capacity.
We're having a national debate right now about effective teaching. We're focusing in ways that we never have before on the importance of the teacher that is in the classroom with the children. What we're learning is that there are elements of what teachers know that are important, but it's far more important what teachers do with children in those classrooms.
That is delicious. Okay, I want that. Okay. All right. Make that now, don't forget.
Dozens of studies now from all across the country converge really on the finding that it is the qualities and nature of interactions between the adults and children that are responsible for the learning and development of those kids. There are a lot of ways to define quality. Our way of measuring quality involves observing the interactions that occur between teachers and kids in those settings. We use the classroom assessment scoring system to do that. We've been able to show in almost thousands of classrooms across the country that indeed when one uses a standardized, reliable way of looking at interactions, that what we're looking at is predicting children's learning and development. When we look at the interactions that adults have with kids, we generally think of them in terms of how emotionally supportive is the adult toward the children, how much does the adult organize the child's activity and attention and time in the classroom, and what is the adult doing to foster cognitive development and stimulate language and conversation with the children. On the emotional side of things, we're looking for how warm those interactions are. Does the teacher genuinely enjoy the child, and is there some reciprocity in that enjoyment?
Oh, Fidelis said we have to cheer for him, so we gotta say, go Fidelis, go Fidelis, go Fidelis, you can do it, go Fidelis, oh, you did it. Go.
A child should feel that they are supported in their growth of self-esteem, in their use of curiosity and persistence and resilience, all the types of lifelong management skills that we want every individual to have find their seeds in these very young years.
Can you help me make it like this, Master? Okay, first go a line here and then point here and then make the ears. Help me like here. That's how you do it. That's too funny. Sorry.
We also pay a lot of attention to how teachers manage time and manage behavior and activities. So we like to see teachers structure learning environments in ways, or learning activities in ways that allows kids to move and allows kids to make noise and allows them to really kind of express themselves individually.
She's a star and she cries.
But I think one of the more important elements that we see of interaction are the ways in which adults provide ways that stretch the children's thinking.
Number 10.
Is 10 on the top? Or should 10 be on the bottom?
Bottom.
Okay, and then what comes before 10?
7.
What's this one?
9.
So 10.
A child might be fiddling with a puzzle or trying to learn a new word, and the teacher wouldn't give them the answer, but would just come in and try to offer some hints that would help the child perform the task at a little bit higher level, hopefully celebrate that success together.
Would you be able to show 0?
No, 0.
You don't have to show 0. Why? 0 is how many? How many is 0? Nothing. Excellent. Good job, Jack. You know your numbers really, really well.
the ability to actually measure, assess, and then support effective interactions in a classroom has given us a great opportunity.
We're opening up a field of understanding, measuring, and improving the quality and effectiveness of teachers' interactions with kids that I think has enormous promise. I think it actually has the potential to move education forward.
Okay, I was reading in the chat, quite a lot of people were already expressing the fact that they miss their classrooms, they miss their students, but we're still going back to our students. So please, in the chat box, how might we be able to get that same feeling, the same atmosphere in a virtual classroom, in a virtual online classroom? So how could we recreate this same experience in this new learning environment? Please put your responses in the chat and we would share out some of them. Mr. Curtis and Mr. Humberto, if you could please share some of the things from the chat.
One person mentioned that there will be a lot of questions and interactive questions. We've seen the small grouping that will take place with activities that are very interactive, open-ended questions.
Using their own interest in their Zooms. Interact with same positive attitude, you know.
Thank you. Next slide, please.
Domain 1, emotional support. Positive climate reflects the emotional connections between the teacher and students reflects the emotional connection between the teacher and students and among students, and the warmth, respect, enjoyment, communications by verbal and nonverbal interactions.
So we're going to look at the positive climate dimensions and all the indicators that go along with it. We're looking at relationship, positive affect, positive communication, and respect. So we're under relationships, we have the following behavioral markers: physical proximity, which might not be possible for you to touch, but you could always lean closer as the children are talking to you and not be so far away from them on the screen. We have shared activity, which is something that has been mentioned by some of the responses we got. We have peer assistance. You have children interacting with each other, and you see the matched affect between students and also between the adults that are working with them. And that social conversation that actually makes a lot of difference when we start working with our children. So this moves us on to the next slide, where we're looking at what are those differences that we notice. We look at the social distancing greetings. We're no longer physically hugging each other, but we are already giving ourselves the air hugs, the air high fives, the hand on the head. And the children can actually see pictures that have children wearing face masks, which kinds of shows them that things are going to be different. So as we start our first week of instruction, utilizing the creative curriculum, that just as we are in a physical classroom, that we utilize Thursday and Friday, and making those meaningful connections with our children. Actually sharing with our children what our expectation is in an online classroom environment. What do we expect from the students? What do we want them to do? Have we created our classroom expectation, our classroom rules? Because that would be a great time to share that expectation with our students. Because once you share that with them, then they are aware. These are things that we utilize in an on-ground classroom. So it should be no difference in an online environment, that we're still implementing the same practices that make our program successful, that makes support our children emotional development and provide for a positive learning environment. So we're going to look at a video that shows us some of the things that we might need to share with our children as we start our first 2 days with them with a creative curriculum.
If you share your screen, just lower your volume so we won't have the feedback. Just lower your volume panel.
Would you like something to eat?
No, thank you. I'm doing my schoolwork.
Suche, you're on mute.
So we're going to look at some of virtual classroom expectations that you might have created that you might want to share with students as you return to the virtual classroom. Please write your response in the chat box and we're going to share out some of those responses.
I see some people saying that they get the video, that they can totally relate to it. I've seen where it says that was cute, which is just an example of the, the charisma and all of the fun that kids still have, even though we're in a virtual experience. Also, someone said turning off the TV during Zoom classes is wise. We also had someone to put up practice raising your hands and using the actual tools on the Zoom and just your physical hand.
There's other ones are sharing that they need to wait to break time to eat, be respectful to teachers, classmates, speak near the microphone, follow the 3B's rules, practice raising hands, and so forth. Very great expectations.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we will go to positive effect. That's your smiling, your laughter, your enthusiasm. Are you excited to teach in the morning when you log in to your children or students in the classroom? How are you showing the teachers or the students and families how you're feeling? So let's think about that.
So we also look at positive communication. Remember, communication is not only verbal communication, that it also involves your whole body language and other aspects of communicating with people. We're looking at verbal affection, physical affection, and positive expectation. Will the children forget some of those classroom expectations that we just shared with them? Yes, they will. Well, how do we communicate with them what we require them to do in an ongoing manner and in a positive way to keep them excited for coming to the Zoom classes every day?
Respect. Are we making eye contact? As Ms. Uche referred to earlier, are we leaning in while the children are talking? Are we giving a listening ear? Do we have warm and calm voices? Are we using respectful language? Thank you, please. I appreciate that. And is there cooperative sharing going along with peers and even the staff? As you can see, we had tech issues, but we're a team and there was someone to come so everything could work well. So as I say that, B, for the simple fact that I want teachers and staff to make sure you look over your lesson plans. You shouldn't be looking at papers and looking down. That's not having the eye contact. Let your aides be aware of what's going on in the lesson. And also too, let them be your co-host or let them have access, because if you have some type of technical glitch, they could step in, as you saw in this presentation today. Expect the unexpected and be respectful. So now I want to share with you some social and emotional benefits of Zoom that came from families. It was said that there's a great connection there emotionally for Zoom. And Zoom is a great tool for not only the teacher staff, but the children. Children are able to see their peers. They're able to share. They're able to communicate with each other. Students express themselves, and that's what families reported the most. Children were able to express themselves and tell how their day went because they had that connection of a virtual classroom setting.
So now we're going to look at negative climate. That is one of those things we do not want to talk about, because just like violations of children's personal rights, we have to talk about it so that we're aware that some of our actions might produce a negative effect in the classroom. And this is something that we do not want to happen in our virtual classroom. We want our children excited. We want their families excited. So when it's time to log in, they're waiting for you even before you get to the classroom, virtual classroom.
Within the negative climate, the indicators are negative affect, punitive control, sarcasm and disrespect, and severe negativity.
And on the negative affect, we have irritability, anger, harsh voice, peer aggression. Are we coming in already angry and we're trying to take it out on someone? Because the children can read our expressions, because that's all they're looking at. Looking at us with a smiley face, and we're looking back at them with a blank stare that says, "Why are you smiling at me?" So we want to make sure that we're mindful of our body language, our expression, and our tone of voice.
Sarcasm and disrespect. Are we using sarcastic voices and statements? Teasing and humiliation? No, but let me give you an example of what could happen. Johnny, you have on your pajamas again today? That's humiliation. That's a form of teasing, and that's a form of being sarcastic. Why does Johnny have on his pajamas today? Maybe he didn't have anything to wear. Maybe the family couldn't wash for that particular day. Those are, if you have concerns in regards to that, that's something that you could talk to the families in private, not in a platform of Zoom in front of other children. But I know we don't do things like that, but I did have to give an example.
And when we look at severe negativity, we're looking at bullying and victimization. Are you threatening the children with things that you are talking too much? Giving an example again, I will mute you. We will turn on that mute button, or we might just turn off your screen. We are not utilizing any form of threat against the children. And no, we can't do physical punishment. We can't send them off to the office. Now we're thinking of what else can I do to get control of the students, that we are mindful of those threats that we might utilize that might not be appropriate for an online learning environment.
Teacher sensitivity. This includes the teacher's awareness of and responsiveness to students' academic and emotional needs. The high levels of sensitivity increases students' ability to actively explore and learn. The teacher consistently provides comfort, reassurance, and encouragement.
So when we look at teacher sensitivity indicators, one of the things that we look at is that the teacher is able to identify the needs of students and meet them where they are developmentally by making sure that we're providing developmentally appropriate lessons for our children. If we can notice if the lesson is too advanced for them, it is something that is not within their developmental level, a sensitive teacher would notice based on the reactions of the students, and you can make changes. Remember, your lesson plan is not written in stone. You could make adjustments based on the needs of your students.
So basically, Ms. Uche just went over the awareness indicator. You could go to the next slide, please. Responsiveness, acknowledge emotions, provides comfort and assistance, and provides individualized support. So this is when we reflect. What materials might better this student? How can we tailor our lesson plan, our activity to one individual child to meet their needs? And then provide, okay.
Sorry, I went back.
Okay, I'm sorry. And then I was just going to say with the comfort, just providing and knowing how a child is feeling, being responsive. You could tell by facial expressions how someone is feeling. And then when you have that individual visualized time towards the latter part of the day, you know, just check in with the family or check into with the student to see how they're doing.
Another important thing that we need to remember is that we're addressing problems promptly. If we need to address those in order to make sure they do not escalate into something bigger, and that we're in tune with the needs of our students. That is another thing that would help us identify problems and also resolve them before it becomes something bigger.
Student comfort. The child will seek support and guidance, freely participates, and take risk.
So when we look at regard for student perspective, we're looking at how do we capture teacher interaction with the children? Are we mindful of the students' interest, what motivates them, their point of view as we're creating activities for the classroom? Are we looking at what are the things that will keep our students actively engaged based on their identified needs?
Regards for student perspective indicators are flexibility and student focus, support for autonomy and leadership, student expression, and restriction of movement.
Go on, Ms. Hall.
So now we have a poll question. What part of the day does flexibility and student focus take place? Fill in your answers. Okay, so we should be closing out our poll in a few seconds. All right. Thank you. That's all day that we're flexible with our student focus. All day throughout our instruction when we're with our children. Thank you. Okay. Flexibility and student focus. This is an area where we show flexibility, incorporate students' ideal, and follow their lead. In the morning on our lesson plan, we may have a certain morning song that we're going to sing with our children, but Johnny doesn't want to sing that today. He's the one, I want to sing this song. I want to sing this good morning song. Is it possible that we could be flexible and sing the good morning song that Johnny wants us to sing? Of course it is. That's showing flexibility. That's incorporating the students' ideas, showing respect, and we're following the students' lead. And that helps our children internally, and that boosts up their social and emotional aspect in life.
So we are allowing choices for the students and we let them lead, just as Ms. Hall has just stated, and give students responsibilities. That might be something we need to think about. How might we give students responsibility in an online environment? What are the things that we might want to do to encourage them to be a part of the lesson?
Student expression. This we encourage students to talk and elicit ideals or their perspectives. Now, just know that this is student talk, not teacher talk, not teachers dominating the conversation. This is children's talking, where they share their ideals. And during this time, you can see that children feel free to explore and to express themselves and contribute ideas to the lesson. And then this is where you could add in your open-ended questions just to get more conversation from the children.
As we come towards an end of our presentation, it's a reminder to all of us that sometimes during our lessons, our children might move around, wiggle, allow them to move. Could we make that a part of our lesson? Just stop everything and we have a little stretch break and we do something completely different? Yes, you may. Even though you have a stricter lesson plan, that does not mean that if it's not on this piece of paper I'm looking at, we're not doing it. Remember, we have to remember student perspective. We have to look at what is developmentally appropriate for our children. How long are we having them to sit? Do we need to do a little wiggle shaking time so everyone can get all the wiggles and the jiggles out of them? And then we continue. Remember, do not be so rigid. So now remember, our goal is to make sure that we're bringing things that you already know back to your remembrance and thinking of how you could transition into an online environment. So now we're gonna have a little quiz trying to see, what do you remember? Ms. Hall, lead us with this activity.
Okay, are you ready for Digital Jeopardy? Which is not part of positive climate? Peer assistant, eye contact, harsh voice, or verbal affection? In teacher sensitivity, include all aspects: awareness, addresses problems, and support for leadership. Put in your answers. Are we ready for our polls? All right, you are correct. What is not part of positive climate is a harsh voice. And then we have this chat going on. Let me see. Teacher sensitivity includes all the above, except, and you're right, support for leadership and autonomy. It's that awareness and that addressing of the problem. Those are the highest percentages, so. Okay, so now on these next few pages, we just have resources and tips of where to start. Become familiar with your class elements. Become aware of your interactions with children via our Zoom digital virtual platform. Be intentional in your interactions and teaching, and work with your coach, or your principal, or your peers, your coworkers, on setting and achieving goals.
So any questions that we might want to address?
There's a question in the AS that says, I'm struggling with children who do not respond to questions or participate in discussion. How can I engage those nonverbal students?
Any member of the panel can answer.
Okay. I would say that all children are different, and when you work individually with this particular child during your after time of instruction, do something like read a book with the child. You can do puppet play. Just think of some open-ended questions where the child just doesn't say yes or no. And then just work with the child, do some type of play, have the child draw a picture. And if the child doesn't talk about the picture, you could say, I see that you made a, help Ms. Hall realize, what is this? And then they probably say a dragon, because they take pride in their work. So that could be a way that you could get a child to speak, and then just work on them, work with that child during your small groups and your individualized time. And it'll take time, but it'll be a work in progress.
I wanted to add, sometimes the whole child takes an individual approach to finding out particularly what does that child like? What is their particular individual interest? Sometimes that can come out during the conference that you'll have with the parents when you can ask what is the child's interest. And if you include that into your pedagogy and into your lesson plans, then that child will see that familiar thing and, you know, hopefully pop out of that silent bubble and start to interact and become engaged in the classroom environment.
And I want to add also that keep observations, observe, document, and if you see this issue continues, you might want to reach your language specialist and address, maybe they can look at it, maybe there is some speech delay. So we don't know yet, but always keep documentation on observations that you do with your children.
We have another
Stages and stages questionnaire that's coming up.
We have another question in the chat that says, what is the best way to respond when we don't understand the child? Their answer is unintelligible.
So I would
Humberto, you're on
say,
mute.
okay. Oh, go, Ms. Uche.
No, Mr. Humberto, I thought he was saying something.
No, I was saying, I was speaking. Sometimes that goes again into getting to know the children. Sometimes they have their own language and they're developing their language skills, and we can encourage them to, you know, develop those skills and try to interpret what they're saying. That again falls into the category of you identifying if there is some developmental delays in the ages and stages questionnaire. One of those questions asks, you know, are you able to understand your child? And is others, you know, are others understanding your child? So that will be like a key mark to what Mr. Humberto had shared earlier, to pay attention to those developmental milestones and make sure that, you know, we can add that support to enable them to grow.
And I just noticed that on the chats, there is a lot of great responses, teachers supporting teachers, peer-to-peer. That is great information from our participants as well.
Can we read a couple of our participant answers?
Sure. One person said they can communicate using nonverbal communication and gestures. Another teacher said one of their children was not speaking in the classroom, but during Zoom times, she was speaking. Another one said, I think that we all need this kind of, remember many students speak other languages and develop English language skills will take a little longer. Yes, that is true.
Someone else said that when you don't understand what the child is saying, you can ask them again, can you show me what you mean? Sometimes we might not understand, but they can show us with actions or with objects what they are trying to tell us.
Yeah, and visuals are very important also too. Make sure you include some visuals.
Another teacher said, sometimes taking away from the situation helps. Point them to a different topic and find your way back to the one at hand. That is an excellent idea.
Ms. Houston shared being allowing children to feel safe and comfortable.
Most definitely, most definitely.
Well, we could take one more question before we go.
I don't see any questions in the chat or in the Q&A.
Okay. And I like the last chats there. Someone just wrote something in there. Let me see.
Sometimes children are timid. First, you need to observe him or her and cover their needs, modeling and mapping to them that they can learn how to communicate. Body language is important because they're learning the language.
Yes.
Yes, that is so true. And remember, all of this leads to a development, a positive classroom environment. And it's all part of the social emotional skills that we want to make sure that our children have, that they're being supported in a positive way, utilizing tools that we already have and making sure that our virtual classroom is a positive environment for them.
I have another question. Some parents feel that Zoom is optional. How do we encourage them?
This came across, I guess, one of my teachers' meetings, a similar question. And when we, as a staff, as a team, express to the parents that all the stakeholders have to be on the same page. And because we are not physically in the presence of one another, the only way that we can be present with one another is through these digital tools. And these digital tools are the platform to us having that collaboration of learning and teaching. And if one is missing, then the other can't completely do what it needs to do. So it's a team, and it's a collaboration of tools and implementing those tools and using them in the right way. And sometimes that takes the sacrifice of giving up your phone or giving up your tablet, and simply even giving up time to set aside as an important time that's learning time for your child to develop. And when they get that, then they kind of like shake out of that and they start to engage more. At least I've experienced that.
Thank you. Ms. Hall, the poll.
Have you gained a better understanding of the class tool in a digital setting? Please put your answers. Okay, the poll will be closing shortly. Whoa. Awesome. 96% said yes, 4% said no.
So hopefully by the next PD, the 4% would be on the yes side.
4% were experts, though. We're going to have them on the panel. That's
yes.
Yes. And I'm sure that 4% is working with someone within that 96 percentile. So that's like a plus for me. So we appreciate your honesty. Thank you.
So we will have this Zoom is being, webinar is being recorded, and it would be made available to you very soon before the end of the day. It will be sent to the principals, and they would be the ones to send it out to you. Once again, we say thank you. We wish you a successful new beginning of a school year. And we know that you are going to rock LD Central. So I just want to thank all of my colleagues here that have made this opportunity possible, and our tech people behind the scenes that have been here to support us in every way. So we just say thank you, and thank you to everyone. And we hope to see you very soon with another professional development. Thank you and have a great day.
Yeah, air hugs.